What is up, Whale family? This is Nightmare and Room bringing you Hangtime, where we talk NBA Top Shot, the market, fantasy basketball, and all things hoops and hype. Rune, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Yourself?
I'm okay, man. Fast and furious over here. A lot of stuff going on this week, a lot of stuff going on in the world, a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports as well.
Definitely.
Uh, where to start? It's crazy now. I was taking a look at our notes for this week, and we have three marketplaces to cover. which
Yeah.
is which is a lot, right? Top
Yeah,
Shot's
it's
really
different now.
expanded from where it was initially. Before we get rolling, I was just taking a look. Crabs seems to have not have
Yeah.
popped
No,
up.
no, it does not. And I've been monitoring it just now, and it's just not doing it. Let me see if I can ping Pineapple.
Yeah, let's slap the
Um,
bot around, make sure it's
yeah.
behaving for us. At first, I thought Pineapple's icon here, his avatar, had a basketball for a background, but it looks like it's some Egos actually. Looks like a waffle of some sort.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. All right, I just pinged him.
Cool, cool. So, talking about basketball, I saw that your boy made his debut
Yes.
and made an impact.
Yes. Triple double. Yeah. Triple double is always really good. And the great thing about it was that it seemed fluid. It seemed natural. And that was an amazing feeling.
And on a related note, it seemed that Marquise Fultz also made an appearance after quite a bit of a layoff. So I don't know if you have some vested interest in that.
No, but I did see that. I did notice that. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
How about everything else going on? There's the MLB front,
Yeah.
which is interesting. We're going to see how that really plays out with now having more time to get some infrastructure under them as far as the strategy for NFT goes. Whether or not the season goes anywhere close to what people are anticipating and hoping for a start is kind of up in the air still. But there are a lot of projects continuing to march on the NFT front.
Definitely, definitely. It was it was a very odd weekend for a number of different reasons, but yeah, there was so many a lot of sports that I watched this weekend did mention NFTs quite a bit actually, and not just. I mean, some people did make mention of the word just NFTs, but others were stating some projects. So I'll go into them later. Now they're not specific projects, but I'll just go over what they talked about and why it was brought up later.
Sure, sure. And then obviously, a lot of stuff going on in the world. Hopefully, everybody is
Yeah.
is safe or doing what they can to be safe. Even our own Zorro is in the midst of flooding in
Yep.
Australia. There's obviously, war going on in Europe with the
Hmm.
people of Ukraine and Russia as well. And Vitaly Klitschko on the front lines, Usyk also, enlisting and running out there. So, um, a peculiar time, a lot of intersection of things going on in the world of sports and in current events
Yeah.
as well. um, you know
Hmm.
I know that on the football front, on what you typically cover for us, there's some things related to that as well.
Yeah, actually, there was so there was a lot of things. And if you don't mind me going over a few things, I'll do that right now. What had happened was this is a World Cup year, so every year, well, excuse me, every 4 years, as you know, there's a World Cup that's played. All the teams across the world are involved in build up to it. But this year is a little bit different for two reasons. One, it's the first time that it's not going to be during the summer. It's actually going to be in December. And that is because it's being held in Qatar, where in the summertime, people would just bake. So, for safety for players, they decided to hold it during the winter. But so that is different. That throws a lot of people off. But hey, it gives us something to talk about around Christmas time. But the other thing that's really odd, and it was just announced today, is all Russian sports teams related to soccer have been removed from respective championship games. So this year is also uh, UEFA, excuse me, Europa. Um, competition year, so the countries of Europe all get together and play. So not only is it a World Cup year, but it's that as well. They are not allowed to play in that. They are not allowed to participate in the World Cup. And there are some other sanctions being held. So, no matter what, it does affect everything, and we're just seeing a taste of that now, with everything that's going on. So yeah, that was the big news, especially from today. So the Russians actually are very good, and they're fun to watch. There are some really good players from Russia, um, and it's a shame that they're not going to be able to play. But obviously, the sympathy is towards the players and the team, not the you know. But on a different note, so yeah, so I mean, between that. It was also just a crazy weekend overall for soccer. One thing that happened is it's the start of the MLS season. MLS season started this weekend and put on a clinic of amazing games. Some really good ones. A hat trick by LAFC. Carlos Vela. He's absolutely amazing. There's lots of mentions of NFTs during these broadcasts. I caught a lot of them on ESPN Plus, but Seattle, I hear, is starting up their own NFT um, uh, projects. A lot of people didn't go into details about things. They just mentioned that they're working on it, and so it was mostly friendly. It was so anyone in the crypto world or any of the fans that are part that like NFTs, be on the lookout for news coming in our Twitters. It was mostly like that during the weekend in MLS. Um, but I'll tell you, some of the goals that were scored this weekend, holy moly. If they could get into a top shot type moment thing, they would have had a ton of content to go through, including one of my New England Revolution um, games. The tying goal at the last second was a bicycle kick that was just out of nowhere, insanely amazing. So yeah, and then the last thing in the football world was yesterday. My team, yes, it's my team. The Liverpool LFC. It was LFC versus Chelsea was playing in the Carabao Cup, and so just to give people an idea of things, in soccer, there's a lot of different competitions because it's global, and a lot of competitions, a lot of different tournaments within leagues. And so it's not just necessarily just your league. It's there are this one, the Carabao Cup. It is every single team in Europe has a chance to win, a trophy or get a trophy, and that means even the underdogs. So just like if you think of baseball, baseball has subdivisions, right, before major leagues. It's the same with other sports. There's like other leagues that are like developmental leagues. Well, these are professional leagues. They're just not playing in the Premier League because they didn't win. In England, you rise up. It's called either relegation or promotion. And but the Carabao Cup is designed to give everybody a chance. So you could have your 11 guys that you met next door, get yourself a team saying, hey, we're Nytmare FC. And you guys pay the fees. You guys are a professional team, professional in respect of you're probably paying with beer. But they have a chance. They play Chelsea. They play Liverpool. They play Manchester United. And if they win, great. And last year, a no-name team actually came up and did very well. Well, this year, not the case. This year was Liverpool winning, taking it all. I can't stand Chelsea. So any Chelsea fans out there, sorry about your luck. But they were talking about how they want to start doing trophies in potential NFTs. So, and also, um, talking about the fan tokens. They brought up the fan tokens a lot, and how teams are starting to do that. And there was a discussion about how, if it basically was a back and forth discussion of whether or not it will hurt the teams or help the teams, and everyone was positive. So yeah, it was really nice to see that this stuff being incorporated into major events like this.
Well, that's dope, Brune. Thank you for sharing with us. A lot of us
Yeah.
aren't as embedded as you and obviously not as passionate as you about it. But
Yeah.
have you actually bought an NFT yet in the realm of soccer?
No, because there's
Oh
like
man.
no, no. Well, listen, especially after what happened this past week, I am like, and it stinks because I'm so. I mean, yeah, we should be cautious anyways of any project that we go into, but now I'm like even more cautious than I was. So I'm like fine tooth, picking these
Yeah.
apart with a fine tooth comb.
I think you're
So
waiting to see the clear emerging market leader in that because it's so splintered and decentralized to some degree with different leagues and kind of a lot of the teams doing things
exactly,
autonomously. It's a little bit different. But we do have marketplaces that have been live and have been doing stuff. Let's jump into them. Let's talk
yes,
about NBA Top Shot first and foremost. Obviously, the market's really responding to a lot of the geopolitical things that are happening right now, the crypto market as well. With that fallout happened to affect the sports collectibles markets as well. We can see the market cap here on Evaluate Market hovering at about 712 million. That's down from where it was a week ago. If I look over here at Moment Ranks, it's not even loading a market cap. I don't know if this is this is a sign, but I think they're testing some new methodologies. So we'll see what that is. I would expect it to be in line, not the market cap dollar amount. This is
yeah,
definitely floated lower. So probably in the mid 700s, but probably 750, right? So three-quarters of $1 billion. We see that the
mhm,
index definitely fell off. One thing that's very interesting to me is the number of transactions definitely took a dip,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
sunk down for the past couple of days because people have been less active or whatever.
yeah,
However, the dollar volume increased significantly at the same time.
yep.
So does that mean people are opportunistically looking to make investments when they see some of these prices, cratering, to really go in, right? I,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
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 just
what I'm
some
thinking.
that's me shooting from the hip, right? But this is
Yeah,
an interesting dichotomy here.
yeah, exactly.
Transactions fall off, dollar volume definitely goes up.
And if you look at the timing of it too, I mean, the day that it happened, that the drop starts is pretty significant. So yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on there, but again, that's my thinking about your thinking.
Well, that's the fun of this, right? We can
Yeah,
speculate. We talk
exactly.
about it a little bit from a different perspective. We take a look at the base moments to kind of gauge the market health. This is the third consecutive week after having a nice
Yeah,
run of
yeah,
profitability, or actually increasing in value. This is the third consecutive week that we've seen a sharp decline. And it makes sense
yeah,
given the conditions that we're dealing with here, right? But we're looking at 25% plus in base three,
yeah,
nearly
exactly.
20% in two, 15% in one. Also, we've been keeping an eye on this momentum that was gained from the Kevin Durant
Mhm.
ad. And
Yep.
then what happened afterwards, we have this where it's returned near its baseline where it was prior. Now,
Yeah,
that could be a temporary blip, right? Because if everything's happening, there could
exactly.
be some news that could significantly alter, the sentiment. And it may have already happened, right? We've seen some fluctuations in the macro crypto market as well. So we'll see if this sustains or not. But that's one thing to take note of. We want to make sure that we continue to onboard new users. But there's a lot of new stuff pulling for people's attention, right? It's not
Yeah,
just
definitely.
NBA Top Shot from the
Yep.
collectible standpoint. Now, if we look at the whale vault, so this is interesting. You look at evaluate market, and we are at $21.3 million here. And this is actually um, up 20% versus what this platform had us listed at a week ago. Right.
Yeah,
And if we look at moment ranks, we're at 22.7, which is actually down about
down, yep.
10% versus where we were a week ago at around 25. So I think we're seeing kind of an equalization of it there, right? Some
Yep,
compression.
exactly.
The middle band there, which I think was indicative of the difference between a methodology looking at lowest list cost and then
Mhm.
moment ranks looking at more things with variability based on jersey numbers and serial
Right.
depth, right? If you're in like the top 3, 10, or whatever. And so that
Yeah.
compression there is interesting. It means maybe less people are willing to pay a premium right now. And
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
these are observations that aren't confirmed, but if I was pulling from my analytical background, because I did spend some time as an analyst, market analyst of various things, that would really be one of the second things I was looking into with these market readings and how they're kind of varying from what we had seen consistently prior.
Hmm.
The whale vault still retains its number one status, though, as far as
That's
collection
what
goes.
matters, right?
Now, now here's a very unscientific measure, right? The Jokic fell off
Whoa!
a cliff.
Holy crap!
And we, one thing we said last week is, it looked like it was sustaining despite the
Yeah.
drop, but Jokic was a big piece of what people needed for one of the challenge completions. I think one of the All-Star game ones. And
Yep.
so, we wondered what would happen after that was gone. And true to fashion and what typically has been happening in Top Shot, you have your opportunity for exit liquidity when things are part of challenges, really, and then afterwards a lot of people get out of it. So think of it two ways. If you're looking to get out of a moment, that's your opportunity. Watch for it. Or if you're looking for a chance to get in, likewise, that's what you could look for right after a
Yeah. I
challenge.
mean, this to me seems like almost like a I don't know. I just have an issue with buying a moment to get the series or the challenge done, and then potentially selling it for after it's done and after you get your reward, because you're going to take a massive loss. I mean, look at this.
It depends, right? There's some
Yeah.
rewards that people think the EV will pan out, and then you'll have those in addition to it. So it's really not a
Yeah.
loss leader, but it's a lot of calculations and metrics for
True.
someone that just wants to participate and collect. So, take some consideration on why you want to be part of this ecosystem and why you're
Yeah.
doing it. Now, explain this to my buddy who the other day I was talking to about it. I said, he's actually into like pack breaks and stuff and in the real
Okay.
world.
Yep.
And I was like, "Hey, man, I'm looking at this NFL marketplace. What should I look at?" And I started talking about Top Shot a little bit. He was like, "What?" He didn't really
Oh
understand the
wow.
challenge and what it
Yeah.
kind of represented and what you could do. Now, not saying he wouldn't like playing around with it, but it's a little bit abstract, So I think people in the weeds will look at that a little bit differently than people that are just casually participating, much like myself, quite honestly,
Yeah.
because I just don't have the time to babysit and want to be in
True.
that much depth. I just touch too much. But speaking of the challenges, some cool ones going on right now, right? This All
Yep.
Star Classic one is super dope with this Shaq
Yes.
moment.
The shack.
And then you have an opportunity to score a LeBron. I think this All Star Game Challenge, I think the completion cost is somewhere around $1,400. And what the expected value of the Bron would be, I don't know. For some people, it wouldn't matter. They just want all the Brons, right? All the Brons.
Yeah.
So, definitely cool that they continue to have different tiers if you wanted to participate and score this LaMelo. I think it was a couple $100 last time I checked.
Yeah. Well, and I knew that they were going to turn that moment into because they even said like right afterwards they went to Twitter and they're like, who wants to have a moment based on LeBron finishing it, and of course people went nuts, and I'm like, no, there's plenty more other really cool things that happened. I mean, that is nice, but there's other things that happened that
Yeah, I
made
think I think you're
you
coming
know.
from a little bit of a biased perspective over there, Ruben, but I get
Hey,
you.
I'm getting my emotional bias under control, so thank you for calling that out on me.
Yeah, we got to get Ilascavia in here to
Yeah.
talk to you about your biases and how to go about that. Now we did have a drop today of the reserve pack. I believe this was drop 4,
Yep.
sold out 500 packs, as expected. Right, we didn't
Yep.
expect anything
Exactly.
else. We had the rim shakers airdrop that got dropped to people. Anyone that participated in the marketplace, they were able to get a moment drop to them. They can get an Obi, which was the limited edition that was only 1,000 roughly, right? Or you
Yep.
could get a Jalen Green, etc. So that was for anyone that participated in the market place or got a starter pack in the month of February, like from February 1st to February 19th, I believe, which I did not. So I did not score a moment there. I don't know if you did, Rune.
No, actually, I'm checking now. I didn't hear about this one.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe if you were in there making moves, you probably got something.
Let's take a look. Anyway, keep going.
No, and then obviously there was some discussion within our Top Shot. or rather, within our sports
Yes.
NFT
Yes.
sub community here on the Whale Discord about the NBA All Star VIP pass and whether or not it made sense for someone to go forward with a DAO proposal. And it seemed like, a lot of good discussion on what it would mean for value and what the value proposition would be. I think ultimately it kind of got steered in one direction, and I don't want to influence it, but it was good to see that people are having robust discussions from both perspectives and looking at opportunities with Top Shot, whatever they may be.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, what else did we have going on this past week? NFL All Day dropped, and it was very interesting, the
Yes.
discussion,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you had an opportunity to get a premium pack, you could get a
Yep.
standard pack. It was everybody had been excited about this for some time, and I for the
Yep.
first time saw a lot of people saying,
Yep. I was part of
I
it.
looked, I looked at the people, I looked at the players that are part of this drop. I think I'm
Yep.
sitting this one out.
Yep. I was part of that because I said the same thing. I wasn't thrilled, and I'm like, no, thank you.
Just from a collector's perspective, who I would want to collect wasn't really part of this drop. And the two that I would were, unlikely rares and likely unobtainable. I'd rather take that money to the marketplace and try to leverage it there.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
And
And I, you know what? I'm curious how many other people. I mean, there was a lot of people, like you said, in our server that was thinking that way, and I'm wondering across the world. Obviously there's people that are going to buy no matter what, but yeah, it was really weird to see in our chat, how many people were in the same boat. So
yeah, I think people have choices now, right? So they're going to
yeah,
opportunistically get in where they think it makes sense for them. And with the marketplace open, there was different opportunity there, right? Speaking of the marketplace, ignore this giant
yeah,
wall
definitely,
when it had like data that wasn't really that accurate, but we're floating at, a significant amount of dollar transactions.
yep,
So it definitely has picked up and had definitely has traction. I know my experience when they opened the marketplace, they were still getting a flood of new people coming in at that time trying to use it. They were working out some kinks, but it was pretty frustrating because I saw these really tantalizing prices on players that I
yep,
wanted that I just couldn't get. There was the discussion, I think it was with C James in the chat room. I think the Brady was $77 at the time. And we were like,
yes,
what is
yes, I
going
saw that.
on? Right. There was some ridiculous pricing, but obviously things leveled to where they should be. And now the markets you know, kind of establish what the pricing will be on some of these moments. Now there's a lot of supply still to come. So that's another thing
Yeah,
that I'm
definitely.
thinking of on some of these commons that I'm interested in, is you could
Yep,
probably predict who they would be, right? Obviously, I want a
yeah,
Big Mac.
yep,
There's a Brady that's a common that I would scoop just to have as well. And so there's different
just
things
to
out
have
there,
it.
but
Yeah,
there's a lot of supply to come.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is only going to get bigger. And a lot of these cards, or these moments, I believe, as time goes on, definitely will go up in value. But yeah, we'll see.
I mean, there's a lot of rares of players that I don't necessarily think I think
Warrant.
there's always been some discussion about who becomes a legendary in Top
Yep.
Shot and who gets in some of these, rare
Yeah.
packs and what the logic is behind it. Obviously, they want to spread and not flood supply of the star players and things like
Yeah.
that. This is what I actually scored for my rare in the one premium pack that I grabbed, and so it's cool that it's a pat, right? But
Yep.
there's definitely a differential there.
And I've been thinking about that a lot. When the NBA All Star Game happened, they had the top 75 over the last 75 years, and that doesn't include every player. Um, and I just, um, to me, it's a matter of a legendary status should be reserved for someone who makes a massive impact on the game. And even though I hate Tom Brady, I think that he deserves a legendary status because just of who he is and the impact that he made on the game. Again, I can't stand the guy, but I would definitely support him getting a legendary. You know,
Yeah,
again,
it's
my bias.
interesting. It's interesting. The equivalent of badges, I suppose, are when there's like jersey pieces and whatnot, bases and whatnot that are included in different special cards. So you know, they have to leverage things a little bit differently in this medium, and they're still finding their ground. I wouldn't be surprised to see something unique come out of NFL all day as they continue to experiment. But it's to be seen. A lot of supply left, and I'm looking forward. It was not me souring on the product. I still
Yeah,
like the product. Just the offering being relegated to just those players kind of put me off. And
yeah,
I don't know
definitely,
if that
definitely.
model will change at some point, and it's open to a big, much larger swath, or if it's intentional, right? Maybe they're trying to spread supply around in a certain way.
Yeah. And just so that you know, I did not get that pack.
Interesting. Interesting. I've looked at Own the Moment for some time when it comes to completions of sets for NBA Top Shot, but I do think it's really
Mhm.
cool to be able to look here and see, a snapshot of what's moving and what's really changing on NFL all day, being that the pricing dynamic is so new, right? Like
Yes.
we're only a week in, and so we're really still feeling out with this very limited supply, what is going to happen. How the sets are going to price out as well and things of
Yes.
that nature. So I definitely have been spending more time on this site looking at NFL, whereas for
Mhm.
NBA Top Shot, was on occasion, usually to look at sets, but I find it really useful right now for NFL all day.
Definitely.
So UFC, I don't know if you've been dabbling in the marketplace there, Rune.
This is one place I haven't been as often, and, I was going in at the beginning, but then, like I said, my bank blocked me. But no, I have not kept up with this at all. It's been the NFL and the NBA for me.
Well, I think I mentioned to you that I fleshed out all of the commons for
Yeah,
Series Zero. It's not realistic for me to get all of the rares as well, just because they were significantly priced, right?
yeah.
Today actually was the last day to secure $500 in marketplace activity to get an
Oh,
Izzy, right? So if you
yeah,
want to
okay.
Adesanya moment,
Yep,
you had to. That already has expired, but you had to have had
yep,
$500 in marketplace movement through today to be able to score that. So hopefully, people that were interested were able to do that. I know when
yeah,
talking with some people in our community, there was a little bit of hesitation, just that they were able to flesh out what they wanted as far as shoring up stars and fighters
yeah,
that they're interested in. They were
yep,
able to flesh out sets if they wanted to, as far as the
yep.
commons, and then they'd have to double, triple, quadruple up on certain moments to
Oh,
be able to reach
so
that threshold, and they weren't
yeah.
interested in that.
Yeah, and see, that was one of my thinking that when this was brought up was, is it market movement on selling or is it buying? And it sounded like it was buying, obviously, and
Yeah.
as a result, I mean, yeah, I mean, with the prices that there are, it's very hard to get that without having to either, like you said, triple or quadruple.
I mean, some of the prices and some of the legendaries were significant, tens,
You
thousands
could
of
have done
dollars if you wanted
it,
to
done
go in
purchase
that way,
there,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
this is pretty unproven for me, and I don't think I've even done that on Top Shot. That being said, still an unproven marketplace. The dollar sales volume is much less than NFL all day at this
yeah,
point, right? We're looking at 12 million. So they're still trying to find their footing. That being said, when the marketplace opened, it was fast and furious. I think
yeah.
Mongoose as well said it. He thought there was an
Yeah.
error. As soon as he put something up, it was gone.
It was gone immediately, yeah, I heard, yeah, he did say that.
I don't know what the final tally was here, but I think it was over 2,000 people had completed
Wow,
this and had over $500 in marketplace activity. So $500 isn't a big benchmark. So I think a lot of people are cautious and they're just trying to see
yep,
how things evolve from here. That was Series Zero. We'll see what Series One brings.
definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, that would be, great to see if they can move on up in that.
Floor price $4. Get in there, Rune.
Yeah, I know, I should give
So
away
let's
the
talk about
beer
one of
hat.
your favorite things over the past weekend, the Pixelmon reveal. I think we owe it to the community to have a little discussion on this briefly,
Actually
because I think we may
actually,
touch on this again.
yeah, before we get into that, though, I literally just had a pop-up come up on my phone, um, about MLS. New York City FC, who, won the cup last year, just made a signing for a Maximo Carrizo. He just turned 14 today. They signed him. So one of the things, I don't know if you remember Freddie Adu from way back in the day. He was like the youngest
Yes, yes.
person to ever play professional. Adu grew up, sucked pretty bad. Um, but he was 15 years old, I believe. Um, so all of the teams just across, like everyone in the world, they have training facilities, homegrown facilities where you can, just like any sports camp, play technically for a professional team and learn and train, and you get a chance to move up. Well, they moved him up. He is a midfielder with Argentinian heritage. He's not expected to play a role, but he could factor in the plans for the definitely for the future. But he's getting paid as NYCFC as an NYCFC player at the age of 4. Imagine that. Like, I don't know. Good for him. But anyway, that was interesting to share. Youngest
Well,
player
thanks.
ever in the world to sign a contract with a professional team.
You know what's a random aside? You made me think of it. At one point,
Yeah.
early in MLS, what were the two teams in the New York, New Jersey area?
It was excuse me, it was the New York Red Bulls and it was the Metro
Right.
Stars.
Right. So
Yep.
and I mentioned my work as an analyst.
Well,
I was
Cosmos and
working
Metro
as an
Stars, yeah.
Yeah, so I was working as an analyst in the
Yep.
the analytics and category management marketing department of a company, and
Yep.
one of our you know our young employees that came
Yep.
on and was in like a development program also was playing for the Red Bulls. So
Oh
like
my
I don't know
god.
what they were paying at the time, but he had to also take like a regular gig and then he'd go play for the Red Bulls afterwards or whatever.
Yeah, those days are gone. If that was now, the dude would be sitting pretty just without having to get an IRL job.
Yeah, yeah, no, shout out to him.
That's
I'll have
cool.
to check out on him. Tall,
Yeah,
tall kid too.
nice.
But yeah, let's get into Pixelmon. So I think, at one point we actually referenced this, right? Because
We did.
Frank, who's on our analytics team, is a
Yep.
big, if you guys don't know, Pank is Pank. Frank is big into Pokemon, and
Yep.
I've had a couple of conference calls with him, and he literally Pikachu was sitting there behind him, and
Yep.
he's a big fan of the IP. So he had brought it up to us and said, "Hey, this may be really cool." And I think we mentioned it on this
Yes,
segment at one point,
we
and
did.
then I want to say like a week or two prior, he said, "Listen, I've been looking at some things in the background, and yeah, I'm getting a bad feeling about this. I'm gonna stay away."
Yep.
So he had
He
some preemptive signs. We'll talk more about that another time on what Frank
Yep.
had seen leading up to it to make him not want to go in. But dude,
Yeah.
absolutely meme inducing ridiculousness here.
You know what? Why? Okay, so for first off, whoever got those 2 on the left, especially that monkey, I'd keep them. I would straight up keep them because at this point, 1, it's historical. 2, it's a meme crazy, gotta have. So I don't know. For those 2, I would keep, but for all the other ones that I've seen, I can't believe that they even thought that this was a good idea.
I mean, the hype was heavy. People wanted to go in and not miss out and not be a part of it. I've felt the same thing in projects
Yep.
recently and ended up, passing on things on a number of factors, right?
Yep.
But I just can't get over the ineptitude of what was delivered. And so
Well,
now
yeah.
this thread actually talks about this person having a history of having
Yes,
pulled
I
things
read
without.
this. I read this, and it's a really good read. And they stole it from this game. They stole the footage that they used in that first cell up there, that top left, from that one that you just from the video game that you just had up. It was an indie game. Um, but yeah, this thread right here, okay, hotshot.eth. This is a really good read.
I'll pop this in here so everybody can see it. But that being said, shout out to Frank for giving us the warning and saying, "Hey, pull the brakes." I know a couple of people still decided to go in because they
Yeah,
were excited about what the possibilities were. But yeah, man. I mean, I've been a little bit more gun shy with some things myself, but
same.
certainly on Dutch auctions with an unproven team and things of that nature,
No.
that's dangerous grounds. I think it started at like 3 ETH.
3 ETH, yes, exactly. And the fact that they said that they're going to take the money that, like, I think it was like 7 million to fix it. And the guy that drew up like some past projects that this company did, he didn't even support it, and then didn't. Read this article, everyone, or this thread, because this is just like holy crap. And the fact that Frank had those inclinations just prove how awesome he is again. I mean, he'll always say NFA, but man, the dude is on point.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the chat right now because he was obviously hyped about it, and we were
Yeah.
kind of both
Well,
hyped it.
did
Go ahead.
you did you also know that Pixelmon, the name, is actually a mod for Minecraft to get Pokemon into Minecraft?
I
So
did.
yeah, so I mean that's another Pokemon, themed reference that just like they stole the name as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's one of the things that Frank has referenced. I'm looking at some of the comments to me right now, and he said he's been
okay.
thinking about it a lot lately. He's spooked by it for some reason. There's an upcoming Minecraft competition that
Hmm.
they have, and there's a similarities with Blockverse, who essentially
Oh,
run their
okay.
buyers, right? So, I mean,
Yep.
shout out to Frank for the heads up and having that the wherewithal to put that forward and stop me from diving into something. Now, yesterday, I was hesitant to get into Champions Ascension, right? And it
Yeah.
wasn't even
Same.
because of factors like this. I was just weighing like, hey, when will this be released? Does it make sense for me? Things of that nature.
Hmm.
And that was at like a point 0.4 mint.
Yes.
So, this
Yes.
is obviously someone diving deep into it. And there's been a lot of comments relative to, hey, this is a sign, guys. If this is the type of thing you're in, like do more due diligence.
Yeah, and it's a shame, really. I mean, this space doesn't need anything like this. This is just ridiculous. I mean, it is a good thing to use for an educational and a PSA. Um, but
These
in
guys should
all
be on all the PSAs, dude.
yes,
Definitely.
exactly. They
Kevin
really
should be
should.
involved in all NFT PSAs. But I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm with you. Like the narrative in the
Yeah.
mainstream media is so poor on NFTs, and this is just giving ammunition. So
Yep.
we'll get past this. We'll
Yep.
get past what had happened with the Maury community and Sabet as well, and hopefully be able to carry a lot of positivity forward. Because when the mainstream press comes knocking, we want to be able to say we handled our own and handled
Exactly.
our business. So with that, Rune, I think you'll have to sell your Pixelmons that you grabbed.
Yep. Yep.
Unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna hold their value unless you have Kevin or
Well, you know
some of
what?
the real
I don't
iconic
have
ones.
I don't have Kevin, but I might just screenshot it and then put it up for sale for 4 ETH. Just kidding. I will not do that.
I don't put it past you, Ruin. I
No, I
don't
will
put it
not do
past
that.
you.
I will deserve a cancel for that. And by God, yes. Thank you for bringing this up.
Well, talk to us about it, buddy.
No, man, no, go do it, do it.
Well, I don't know a ton about it, right?
I
MLB
don't
isn't really
either,
my
but I
thing,
heard,
but
yeah,
Tops, and
yeah,
obviously taking an absolute legendary,
yep,
digitizing it in a sense, and making a one of one NFT of a
yes,
card that would be absolutely unobtainable
yep.
for anyone, and an opportunity to to bid on that and bring that to market. So I hope it's successful, because I hope it means that
I
we'll
do
have
too.
other opportunities for that, because some of these things eventually will be lost
Yes,
to to things degrading over time.
yeah,
And that's one of the
just over
beauties of
time, man.
NFTs, is that they don't. I
I
saw
do.
someone argue, I actually saw an
Yep,
artist argue something to the fact that um physical works can be
yep.
preserved for a long time, whereas the NFTs are dependent on very specific software and very
Oh,
specific
jeez.
hardware. And it was
Yeah,
an interesting argument, but we're talking about the inverse, right? Of
yeah,
being able to preserve something in its intended form, to
yeah.
some degree, at least visually. So I think
And
this is
that's
cool, man.
yeah. That's also the point. If like you have, I mean, they just okay. So the very first appearance of Michael Jordan, the ticket stub, for his very first appearance in Chicago Cubs, there was a guy who happened to find it sitting in his attic, and he remembered that he won 2 tickets at work, and he tried to give the second ticket away, and no one wanted to go because the Bulls sucked then. Um, and as a result, like he just found it just recently, and it sold for like like 600,000 or 400,000, something like that, from 4 to 600,000. But it was just sitting in his attic. And that's the thing with like anything digital. It's dependent on the person who holds the original piece, whether or not it's going to be in great shape 100, 200 years from now or not. And you can't put that trust in people. So why not try something like this and go for it? The fact that they gave it that vintage look, still, it was the exact replica it looked like. And that's what blew my mind. I mean, I'm thinking like Reggie Jackson, some Babe Ruth, get it in an NFT format, a 1-for-1, do that, because at that point um it's preserved for as long as the internet exists.
It's an interesting question, right?
Yeah,
Do these things escalate in value because they're going to degrade, and things of that
yeah,
nature. So we'll see. It's not going to be subject to me throwing my baseball cards against the wall along with my friends to see which one will be closer to who can scoop the whole pile, right? And things of that nature, wrecking the corners and us having to think about that down the road. But maybe that means that things don't escalate the same way. Much is to be seen, right? This market's
yeah,
relatively young. So what will this mean 5, 10, 20 years from now? We don't know, but I do think it's cool that they're experimenting. And I do appreciate the
yeah,
vintage look as well. Uh, for some
yeah,
reason, this made me think of Cuphead. I just watched the entire first season on Netflix. Did a good job making that look like the old timey cartoon. Why I wanted
yeah.
to throw that in there, I don't know. I'm a fan of video games.
um do we think, I mean, and I don't know, because maybe I just missed it, but wasn't there supposed to be a decision today of whether or not MLB is going to be on strike or not? I think today was the deadline for the
You're
players
telling
union.
me, Rune? Do you have
Yeah.
an update on the
No, I
Rune
don't know. I
device there?
mean,
Did you get another ping?
I think today is the final day for the players' contracts to be renewed, and a lot of the clubs owners are laughing at them hysterically, apparently, so of what they've been presented. So I think today's the deadline. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, because everyone's about to cancel me. So
Well, it would just be on brand if you are. I'm sure we'll catch up on it in a little bit in here on the Discord. The cancel rune memes will go fast and furious. I did want to make mention to everybody that we are working on some gamification for March Madness. So I know everyone is getting excited for some spring hoops. Be on the lookout
nice,
for March Madness and some other interesting things in the works. You may get a
nice.
call for some committees and some participation of people that want to help out on some various initiatives in the sports NFT room. So, with that, everybody, hope you have a good week. We will talk to you next time, and thanks for hanging with us
Yes,
on time.
thank you very much, everyone on Cancel Rune.